By this time, we really have tripping down pat. We know what we're doing. We know what we want to shoot.
Tripping number 5, this is it. What a well-oiled machine. It's almost scarily smooth. In a time where good was bad and bad was even better.
Whoa. Okay, let's do that again.
3, 2, go. It's all glamour in this job.
It's going to be a bit of a roller coaster as we start down sea level at Noale at Venice. We go up into the Dolomites, we come down to the wine country in Murano. We go back up into the Alps to Switzerland, San Moritz.
Switzerland, baby.
Back down to Lake Como. Life's roller coaster.
On these international trips, I mean, you've got to give yourself a day really with jet lag.
We had one day just to ourselves, just to be, you know, stupid American tourists. And we wandered into Venice.
We were ready to go this morning, so we got up and we just, you know, suited up. The shivers are there, you know, orange metal flake gleaming in the sunlight, and it was hot.
Beautiful weather. I mean, not a cloud in that sky this morning, and probably close to 90 degrees. So it was good to get on the road and get out of town for sure.
We left from Noale, down near Venice, and we headed up to Cortina d'Ampezzo.
First step, a little bit of congestion, out of town, hit the autostrada. It was good to get out and twist the throttles this morning.
Day one started out great because we hit the autostrada immediately. From my perspective, dealing with the bike, I got to get a good feel of it. You know, I got to just cruise along, kind of see how it handled, how fast it could go, how responsive it was.
Sam's really become quite a rider. You know, I don't worry that much about him anymore, and that's nice. It takes a little of the heat off me.
I was hoping that when we got to Italy, we could just have it easy this time. Bright, sunshiny days, all 4 days. And when I saw that black against the horizon, I thought, maybe not this time. But then I realized that it wasn't clouds at all, it was the Dolomites.
All of a sudden, the autostrada ends, and right before your eyes, the Dolomites loom in front of you.
So there we are in beautiful sunshine. Come around the corner, the other side of the mountain, bang. Thick cloud, thunder, lightning, rain's pouring down. Just flick of a switch, the weather changed.
And we got to our destination for the day is Cortina d'Ampezzo. And stopped there and had lunch. We were all starving. You know, it, lo and behold, started raining on us. We pushed the bikes under this awning. It was a train station, I think. And we sort of hung out there for a while and just, you know, waited for it to not stop raining, but at least slow down.
Actually, I think the local tourist boards are going to start employing us to take rain to places that haven't seen it for. We should go to Africa. They're always looking for rain, aren't they? I think we tow a cloud behind us.
Stopped raining, slowed down enough for us to get back on the bikes, and there was a pass we wanted to go up.
I can't imagine that the Shiva we're riding wasn't developed and tested on these roads, being so close to the factory. The wide handlebars make very light on the steering. You don't need a lot of input to make a turn. No lack of stability with that. Good opportunity to see how the Shiva works. Very sensitive brakes, very sure-footed, and no stress really riding on those crazy roads.
The mountain passes that we were going up are really narrow, they're very steep. And then on top of that, it started to rain.
It's nice to be on a bike that reacts well on these roads. the short wheelbase, the easy handling. Nice, you know, the brakes are strong, but they're not harsh. And it's confidence inspiring when you're in the rain. Just have something that maneuvers around, the suspension takes the bumps, and you're not driving along with that sense of nervousness in the rain. We've got good Dunlop qualified tires, they're working well on the street, so we can actually still enjoy the ride without holding our breath, wondering if we're going to go over the edge, or wondering what's going to be our last breath.
The Shiver's a really nice compromise, I think. It's got all the panache and all the style and all the feel of an Aprilia, but it's a 750. It's a much more civilized power plant, I think. You know, I mean, it's still plenty powerful, but you don't worry about, especially on wet pavement, blowing it out from under you with the throttle. You know, just cracking that and all of a sudden, whoop, there she goes. And I like taking this thing through the turns.
So basically, we didn't set ourselves a very lofty goal in terms of distance because we wanted to make a couple of loops up some of the mountain passes, and that can be very slow going when you're in these mountains. There's bicycles, tour buses, and people, and plus just the fact that you're in first and second gear for a while.
Day one is always an eye-opener. It's always just getting to know the bike. And today we did that. And so tomorrow I really want to get into it and just experience the Aprilia Shiver, because we only have them for 4 days.
We set Cortina for our home. It's this just beautiful mountain town. I mean, it's surrounded by cathedral spire mountains, very, very pleasant weather, and just a beautiful place to stop for the night.
Tomorrow's going to be an interesting day. We do head, back down out of the mountains, but to do that, we're going to go through two pretty spectacular passes. I'm really hoping for good weather. I think those could be extremely hairy. We could get snow up here.
I think we're back in the groove. Day one's in the bag, and we're off for day two tomorrow. Day two. Now, if I was writing a story about today, where would we start? Would we start with the policeman, the expensive fine, the thunderstorms, the 6,000-foot mountain alpine passes, the beautiful sunshine, bicycle riders, bike riders, bus tours, pink buses, pink hair, pink people? I mean, where would you start on a day like today? Absolutely unbelievable.
So we woke up this morning in Cortina d'Ampezzo, Hotel Minardi. It was just absolutely gorgeous. It'd been a little bit iffy coming in there, off and on weather, as we always seem to get in these trips.
Day two started off great in Cortina. It was beautiful blue sky. It was really chilly in the morning, as you expect at such a high altitude. We're at like 4,000 feet here in the Dolomites. When you go into the mountains, anything can happen.
And we took off from Cortina.
Cruising and waving at donkeys and sheep and all sorts of bits and pieces, and off to the mountains we went.
And our destination was Murano, but we had to pass over 3 mountain passes to get there.
Right off the bat, it was just like one great picturesque scene after another. Initially we just started climbing right out of the valley.
Cortina is just rimmed by the Dolomites, and they were just so gorgeous. And again, they're such interesting mountains.
The Dolomites are just absolutely phenomenal. I mean, they're really like any mountains you could compare in America.
What's the dinosaur? I think it's the Stegosaurus. Isn't the one that's got the armor along the back? I mean, that's what the Dolomites look like to me. It's just like these plates of armor.
Where we're riding is just mountain, and the towns are in these beautiful green, lush valleys, and we got to look down on Cortina. It was just stunning.
We're in northern Italy, but it doesn't look like it. It doesn't feel like it. It feels much more like Switzerland, or much more like Austria.
Immediately leave town, you just start climbing on this really, really narrow road. Thick pine trees, forests. I mean, everything smells so good. Just the start we needed to the day today. You climb very quickly on these roads. You gain a couple of thousand feet of elevation in just a few miles. Up you pop above the tree line, and then it really, just the whole world opens up.
It was like scenic overkill. You know, you get to the point where you just, and when you're on a motorcycle, you have to really kind of be paying attention. You can't let your mind drift. I tell you, it was hard to concentrate sometimes because the views were so spectacular. When we got up a ways, you know, the beautiful blue went away, and these clouds that have been hanging around brought in a few other cloud buddies.
It's so difficult to judge and to predict the weather. The mountain ranges block these clouds in and they just swirl around.
It wasn't too long till it starts to rain. Not only was it raining, but there was a lot of new road surface. I mean, which was nice. It would have been particularly nice if it had been dry. But wet new blacktop is particularly dangerous. There's a bit of an oil layer there that's kind of still, you know, hasn't been pounded in and washed off and everything over years. It's pretty dicey, it's pretty slippery.
The Aprilias do have 3 ignition maps on them, which is cool. They have a rain setting, a touring setting, and a sport setting, and I know that Dennis and Sam are experimenting with that.
With these modes, you can really specialize the bike. You know, if it's pouring down rain, you always have to worry about that back tire spinning out under you.
When you put that thing in rain mode, it really does dial the bike back. You hit the throttle, and it's kind of, whoa, you know, there's a delay there before it kicks in, which keeps you from breaking the back tire loose. And when you're in that mode, then you can kind of start, you know, you can actually start getting on it more because the bike's going to buffer it a little bit.
We've been working our way up there, stopping, taking pictures, enjoying the view, and of course as soon as you get up the top there, I mean that's where everybody's stopping. The bicyclists are taking a lunch break, the tour buses are pulling in.
There was 30 bikes there at that time, and I think there were 30 bikes there at any time, but it was constantly cycled out.
Pied Piper Dennis attracts his party of hiking kids, interestingly enough, all from the Czech Republic, and they just love the Shiver.
They were, you know, hopping on the bike and, you know, taking pictures. Everybody was getting their chance of sitting on the Shiver. So, you know, it's not just well received by us, it's well received by everybody.
I think with 3 of us all riding the same color bike, and it is a brand new bike, it's just on the market, so a lot of bike riders probably haven't seen one yet. This might be the first time they've seen it. Maybe they've seen it in the magazine or on the internet. And to see 3 identical bikes with a bunch of Americans on it, I think that's interesting for them.
We met some really cool people. This one guy he was living in Dublin, but he was a German.
He basically told us, May to September, that's your season to ride here. So this is peak riding season now. And anything either side of that window and you're just not making it. Too much snow, too cold.
You know, he'd been riding the Dolomites or riding Europe for 20 years. Comes over every year, and was even commenting how this particular week, which is usually a great time to ride, was unseasonably cold, and where it's usually nice weather, it was really nasty.
I asked our German friend what were the best rides in the Dolomites. He said, you're right here in the middle of it. And I don't think we could find anything better than what we rode on today.
Met another group of riders that were from the UK. I mean, there was Brits and there was Scots and everything, and they were all riding their own bikes, but on an organized tour.
It was really interesting. The tour guide, I mean, I turn around, I see this guy standing there in cargo pants and a flimsy jacket, kind of soaking wet. I goes, hey, is that stuff waterproof? He goes, oh no, but my skin is, mate. Just.
Did you ever lose any art?
He was leading Scots and Brits, and again, it's always that interesting mix of bikes, BMWs, Yamahas, Kawasaki's.
So we waited out the rain, and man, you know, when you looked at where we had come from, it was ugly. You know, it'd been really nice, but it was like ugly. But off the direction we were going, looked pretty good. Waited out the rain, mounted up, headed off to blue sky. Almost right after that, we went up what I think was the most beautiful pass I've ever seen, Pass Parodi.
it's switchbacks. And you go up a steep hill and you make a 180-degree turn. You just keep going up, zigzagging up.
You know, there's no super highway to get there. These passes were put in during the First World War, so really just, you know, not even 100 years from now, you couldn't get here, you couldn't get over these passes, other than perhaps if you were herding goats or something.
By the time we got to the top of Passo Parodi, it was lunchtime. In fact, it was probably past lunch. And you got to be careful that you don't miss lunch here, because about 2 o'clock things sort of shut down until they decide to open back up. It was looking pretty good, you know. We'll have lunch, we'll get on the road again. Of course, by the time we were done with lunch, it's, you know, it's clouding up and it's going to start raining. We take off, and I don't think we'd gone, you know, 300 yards, and it starts raining.
Well, of course, there's always a few crazy moments in every day, and I mean, there's none as crazy as our cameraman is. I mean, let's face it. I mean, one, A, he's with us, and B, he rides in the back of the bike with me. So, I mean, you know that makes him criminally insane. So here he is on the back of the bike, and it just starts hailing. And this stuff is, I mean, it was like someone was doing a shot blast. That's all I could hear is him squawking on the back, complaining about the hail hitting him in the face.
Check that out. It's hailing.
But we carried on. The hail didn't last long, the rain did. But then you could see the clouds kind of come in, and they kind of come and they sort of cling to the mountains. They sort of hang around the mountains. And we really, you know, we thought we were going up to begin with. We thought, oh yeah, you know, we're climbing up in the mountains. Man, like, you thought you were in the mountains? Well, you were really in the mountains at this point. The roads were just, you know, serpentine is lowballing it. I mean, they were just switchbacks upon themselves, and even greater than 180 degrees. Some of these things came back around almost more than 180 before they went up again. You went pretty slow around some of this stuff. You just had no choice.
We don't have hairpin roads like this in the States. I mean, you make that hairpin turn, you're coming back, and you almost can look right down on top of, I can see Dennis's head, or I can see Sam right below me as I'm doubling back on them. And you just back, left, right, and that's how you get up so quick. You earn your view here. I mean, when you get to the top, you've earned it. I mean, you've ridden, you have to have 100% concentration for every single mile that you're riding. And you know, when you climb off the bike at the top and you step back and you look at that view, you, as I say, you've earned it. The level of concentration you need is intense, A, because of the roads. And I think there's also a certain level of overstimulation when you're riding. You know, you look at this view and you look at this vista and you look at this set of mountains away in the distance, and then you actually stop and you focus your eyes on something, and then you really realize how big they are. You know, we were looking at this one wall of mountains today, and you're just thinking how huge they are, and then a helicopter flies by, and it's just like this gnat speck, and then you just have this whole other dimension of, your mind just doesn't even let you realize how big they are.
Then we were going to, from that point, head out of the Dolomites, head out of the mountains. And then it was just, you know, on the throttle. GPS is taking us right to our hotel.
Pouring down rain, blitzing down the interstate.
And we roll into Murano. The rain stops. That's great. Murano's a pretty neat town.
5 miles from the hotel, just when you think it's over, not a chance.
We didn't get the ticket. It was actually our production van, our crew van that comes along with us.
And this cop comes over and he decides to ticket the producer for having run this light 20 minutes ago.
I think he just had successful charisma bypass surgery, because he was all about business. 140-something euros for supposedly running a red light, which the guy arrives on foot 20 minutes after we get to the hotel and loading our luggage, and we're supposed to run a red light somewhere in town.
Because this guy had no sense of humor, there was really no talking our way out of it. In fact, it was pretty clear when we fire up the camera, which usually loosens things up, it was actually tightening things up.
Probably about $250, amortizing it out for all of the one-way streets we've ridden up. How many policemen we've met, the things that we've done, and it's like $50 a show. I think it's pretty good, really.
You know, we put the camera in his face. Neil was snapping pictures of him. Hey, you know, lighten up, guy.
We've met so many policemen. They always love us. What was wrong with this guy?
It's late, we're tired. We got a day tomorrow that heads up to St. Moritz in Switzerland, back up into the mountains. We're all digging it. And so, come what may, we're going to Switzerland.
We always try to stay out of the metropolitan areas. It's more hassle than what it's worth. The real beauty, the real thing that we're trying to get, you know, is this. You know, this isn't a metropolitan area at all. And I think this is what people want to see.
And we took off out of Murano, left the Hotel Europa Splendid. It was actually a really nice place, right in the center of Murano, right in that center circle, right where we got that ticket.
Good start to the day. Interesting finish to close the business yesterday with our non-laughing policeman.
And the weather report had just been really, really nasty. So I'm thinking, oh, you know, I wanted a break. I don't think I'm going to get the break. We're going to go through the Alps. We weren't far from the Swiss border. We're not far from the Austrian border. It's sort of the tri-country area that we were in.
We're going to go higher, so obviously it's going to get colder. That's how it should be. But it was the exact opposite today. Today was just, weather-wise, it was perfect.
Switzerland, baby.
As we start leaving town, we start gaining some altitude, and you could just see that everything was terraced.
Very, very fertile valley with a lot of grapes, a lot of wineries.
And we kept going up. The roads, you started leaving the agricultural area, the agricultural field, and you started getting more into the mountains.
Quite immediately a very, very different topography than we had last night coming into Murano.
Again, we weren't far from the Swiss border, and as we approached that, it was kind of neat because Switzerland's not part of the EU. They're independent, fiercely so. You don't mess with the Swiss.
We're really going international on this one. One country isn't enough for us. We need more.
Coming to Switzerland was interesting for me today. I was pretty excited. 41st country on two wheels. I've been here before, but never ridden here before.
But we kind of cruised up and was expecting to have to show passports and maybe some documents. And of course, with this van load of equipment, TV equipment, thought we might have some splaining to do.
The last time I was here, pretty extensive passport checks and controls, and I still have those stamps in my passport from entering and leaving Switzerland last time. And this time, they just waved us and on we went.
There was Italian officers, on this side of the line, and 10 feet across that there was Swiss officers, and they basically, waved us on.
What a change from day 2 to day 3. Going from the really barbaric and harsh looking Dolomite mountains to the majestic and beautiful, picturesque Alps.
The Alps are, I think Neil always calls them picture postcard. I think they're like Disney mountains. If you had an idyllic vision of mountains, it is the Alps. It reminds me of the Cascades in Washington, or there's a range called the Wallowas in northeastern Oregon that is very much like this.
I think the Swiss Tourist Board planned this. They knew we were coming. I mean, just perfect balance from blue sky, white clouds, set off against the mountains.
As soon as we hit Switzerland, you really did then feel like you were in Switzerland. It was funny, as we pull in, you've got the meadows, but there were cows everywhere, and they were brown Swiss cows.
There's always a symphony going on in Switzerland with these cowbells constantly ringing. And initially it's really great, wow, this is what is on TV, this is what I see in the pictures, but boy, does it get annoying after a while.
Coming into Switzerland, stopped in a beautiful small town, great lunch in German menu, Italian-speaking waitress. Yeah, it's really interesting. I think at one point during lunch conversation today, we had German, Italian, and English going, and who knows which one was the worst.
Probably more than we should have eaten, because I think we all kind of left there feeling like we'd rather have a nap than get back on the bikes. The roads were stunning. You kind of get into Swiss engineering, and there's some of the finest engineers in the world, and they sure know how to build roads. We did another mountain pass.
The minute we turned off on the roads in Switzerland, the quality of the tarmac just improved by leaps and bounds. Suddenly, it was almost like every corner was like the perfect corner.
The Swiss really are precise people. They were great riding roads, these just great curves, these swooping curves that you could just really get into and really pick up the speed.
Sam and I have been working on some cornering techniques and some riding stuff, and it was just a great opportunity to work on corner entrance, apex, rolling on the throttle. I still attend school. I go to race schools. I mean, I take advanced riding course. I've been riding 30 years. I mean, you can never stop learning on a motorcycle.
Boy, did it help. Just being reminded of these simple things, these things that are really elementary, these fundamental skills. If you don't apply them, they come back to haunt you in your riding.
Talked about being loose on the bike, staying relaxed, not allowing your tension to work your way into the bars. When you've got a bike with bigger handlebars and light steering, you can put inputs into it that you don't want. And the more relaxed you can get, let the bike work beneath your body, look through the corners where you're going and sort of drive, take your head, take your body, pick up the throttle when you're coming out of the corners. And it allows you to keep a smoother and safer pace and positioning in the road.
He kept tapping on his left tailpipe, and I finally realized he wanted me there. He wanted me, right in line with him, and we had the Neil Bailey riding course.
You just learn about the line and the proper braking and the proper application of the throttle, and I think Sam really soaks it up. I mean, he's a sponge when he's around Neil. Which is a mixed blessing, because there's things I want him soaking up, and there's some things I just assume he didn't soak up. But you got to take it all.
We went fast, and it was a lot of fun.
I could just see, Sam, improving, almost with every turn. I felt I was too.
It would be really great if it was just Neil in first position, me in second, and Dad in third. And I get so tired, and I get so bored being behind my dad. No, slow down, Sam. We need to take it easy. We need to have these bikes back in one piece. Fine.
In terms of a technical piece of road where you felt like you might have been on a racetrack, that was probably the best piece of tarmac I think we've ever been on.
So we came down out of the mountains. It really had that alpine meadow feel. It was beautiful. And we're running along these mountain streams.
We plunge into this valley, and finally, in my opinion, we're in Switzerland. You have the green meadows with, yellow and purple flowers. You have the Alps, these picturesque Alps.
So we're on our way into St. Moritz, kind of a moody sky, don't know if it's going to rain or not. Just see this beautiful old church, 700-year-old church, sitting off to the side. It's all framed out with beautiful mountains and rain clouds. And being the intrepid travelers that we are, we have to poke our nose in and go and see what we can do. And we like to do that. It's nice to get off the bike. It's nice to just get around, walk and explore, sit and have a chat. Kind of gives us a chance to debrief on how cool the roads were and what we were just doing, and hey, did you see that? And hey, did you see that? I think it's very typical to motorcyclists. It's what we do. I think if you were a non-motorcyclist, you'd be like, what are they gibbering on about now? I mean, who cares about that corner? I mean, how many corners have we been around and we still talk about them?
We get to the church and we go up there and we do our whole sightseeing thing. Neil does his, picture taking.
I mean, who else gets holiday snaps like this? Let's face it. I bet the guy at Walgreens hates you guys when he takes.
I look and I see this lady that had been, half a mile back, pulling this little cart full of stuff.
Neil, being the great guy that he is, takes her cart for her and starts strolling it up the hill for her. It popped into my head that, well, this is day 3. And Neil always gets the girl on day 3. It just so happens that this time around it's, an 80-some-year-old woman. But, it's Neil, and he's getting older, and it seems like he's just gonna take what he gets. So she spoke a little French and
Got to do a good deed once in a while, haven't you? He kind of did us thinking I'm all bad. I did one redeeming thing that he could hope that his son might want to emulate in my behavior.
Our time has run out at the church, and we take our leave and head to the Waldhaus am See, which in English translates to the forest hotel on the lake, and it sure is that. It has to be one of the most beautiful places we've ever stayed at. The scenery, the setting that we have here is, in my opinion, the best we've ever had.
And so the plan tomorrow is to get out of San Moritz, up over another pass, then down out of the Alps, and back down into Italy, and we're going to run down along Lake Como. A great night in the Waldhaus am See, and I'm looking forward to maybe some good lake fish.
How many things can you do in your life that you've done for 30 years, that you've done over and over and over again, and you can come here to Switzerland on a motorcycle, on these roads, and it's almost as if it's for the first time again. It's just as good as any ride you ever took, if not better. And it's just the same as when you started. I mean, that's just one of the things about motorcycling, one of the things about travel. And I know that's what keeps us back for more of this madness. It was kind of interesting to wake up this morning and have breakfast at the hotel and see fresh snow on top of the mountains. With passes to cross, we're going to be in trouble.
Well, we've done everything else. I guess we've had sunshine, and we've had rain, and we've had hail. Why not snow?
We had to go over another mountain pass, the last pass that we would go over on our trip.
Very likely we're gonna hit snow at the pass. The pass is 1,800 meters, about 5,000 feet.
It's day 4. It's the last day. We should be careful. We don't want anything bad to happen on the last one.
And when we left town, we really hadn't gotten into San Moritz. So we wanted to, get a little bit of the feel of San Moritz.
San Moritz was kind of interesting, but it was difficult navigation, very tight. I mean, same with any of these old towns. They're just not set up for motor vehicle traffic. So, we're here to ride. I think we poked our nose in, scratched around a bit, and it's like, nah, come on, let's get out of here, let's go ride.
Metropolitan areas aren't what we're into in these shows. I mean, we really enjoy the back roads, we enjoy the little villages and stuff, so it's like, let's get on some of those back roads and let's find some of those villages.
There was just something totally magical. There's enough kind of nip in the air to, you feel it in your fingers, you can feel it on your face, but it's not enough to be annoying. It makes you feel like you're alive. every nerve's tingling and the sun's warming through your leathers, and blue sky, white clouds, the Alps.
So this morning we're riding along. I'm looking for what I think is going to be the pass, the last pass.
You know, San Moritz is about 1,600 meters to begin with. So we only went up, you know, I don't know, 500 feet. We didn't go up very far before we got to the top of the pass. And I thought, oh, that's sort of a bummer. We had to look over the railing there to look at this road. And it was, again, this is a Swiss road, so it's just a fabulous road. And you could probably see 10 or 15, maybe even 20 kilometers down.
They weren't roads, they were almost rungs of a ladder. I mean, it was just down, 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 down into that valley, and God, was it spectacular.
We had this just beautiful stretch of road. It's just a snake winding down the mountain to this really beautiful valley. Standing at the top, you could look down and see every point that you were going to ride. And it just built up, for me, it just built up the anticipation. I was just waiting to go down that road.
It was this beautiful gray ribbon with a dotted white line that went back on itself and down, and then there was this big, long, sweeping turn that came back. Some of it looked like a racetrack. I mean, it looked like it had been laid out for a racetrack, except that you probably lost 2,000 feet of elevation. And we just rode the whole way down in just one fell swoop.
The descent off the top of that pass, that was probably the steepest one of the 4 days, I would think. Just to travel through those roads, I think, with your friends on motorcycles and see it. I mean, we're just the luckiest people alive. We got to the bottom, pulled over beside the road. There's this beautiful old church there, just in this peaceful valley.
All the walls were there, no roof anymore. It had been, abandoned for a long, long time. So we climbed up there, no roof, and you're just looking to the sky. I think it was originally built on that site in 1100 and then ruined, and then, 1300 and then ruined, and then the new church, which was still there, was built in 1500. So it was, 500 years old. It was the new one.
Amazingly, it just cleared up all of a sudden, and poof, blue sky for the rest of the day.
It was almost as if every mile we made today, the weather just incrementally got better, the scenery just got more spectacular. And by the time we came down and we were sitting at that old church, that was close to some of probably the nicest pictures I've ever taken. I mean, just the flowers, the sky, snow-capped mountains in the distance.
That was sort of our last taste of Switzerland. What a wonderful way to experience it. And so we didn't run on very far before it was like, it was like lunchtime, we're all starving.
Quite by chance, we pulled through this small town, and there was just this stunning waterfall.
Put the stands down again, went off, wandered around, looked at this, took some shots of it. Water's crashing down. The mist is, the mist is hitting you from, probably 50 yards out.
Right around lunchtime, there's a beautiful grass embankment in front of the waterfall. There's a restaurant straight across the road waiting to serve us lunch. And you couldn't ask for any better. When you can set bikes up and take pictures like that, with the blue sky, with the waterfall, with the greens, with the browns, with the grass, there's not too many days of work that are that good.
This is part of the reason Neil does these trips. He writes these adventure touring stories, and he writes about the bikes, and he needs the photographs. He's a photojournalist. He's a great photographer, great writer. This is the time to get those shots.
The Aprilia Shiver, it performed great. I love its versatility. It's just a blast, and it's very responsive. It's very powerful for being a 750. And it looks really mean.
They're a slick-looking, thoroughly Italian-looking motorcycle. It's an aggressive look, but it's also it's an elegant look. It's like elegant aggression, if there is such a thing.
I don't think there's any chance you would look at the bike and not think it's Italian. There's not a sacrifice for that with a really cramped riding position or insanely high foot levers or low bars. It's a good position, especially if we're a little bit bigger than Europeans, and it accommodates us well. It fits us nicely. It was awesome for the roads we've been on. Dealt with every situation we needed to. Couldn't have picked a more fun bike.
The clock's ticking, we got to get going. So we kind of just got on the throttle and we came all the way down the west side of Como to Cadenabia.
Grazie. Grazie.
Everything along Lake Como was just beautiful. The little villages and the colors. I mean, you know you're back in Italy because there's so much color.
We got to Cadenabia, we hopped on a ferry, and now we're here in Bellagio.
We kind of, walked around Bellagio. It's a place that's got a lot of steps.
The walkways are fantastic. Little tiny narrow streets, cobblestone stones. It's like a medieval stairmaster. Up the one side, down the other.
Got the feel of Bellagio, and this is really where we're going to end the trip.
This is, in my opinion, the best. It's been so different from anything else we've done. It's just unbelievable that I'm able to do this and show the beauty of this country, to everybody so that they can kind of experience what I'm experiencing.
We're a sort of rolling guidebook of the places that we're traveling. We're bringing this part of the world to our fellow motorcyclists who can see what we're doing. The people we meet are accommodating, the people we meet are friendly, and they want you to have a good time. They want you to enjoy their country. I really hope that people are watching this and they're saying, hey, I could go do that. If these clowns can do it, why can't I? Come to Europe, ride these roads, do this stuff. Don't set yourself up big distances. Take this in small bites and appreciate it. If you find a great piece of road that you really like, do a U-turn, go back and ride it again. Don't give yourself this madcap idea that you need to be in 300 different places in 7 days. There's so many nice places to stop and just enjoy it. And I think when you get in that mode, these places present themselves to you, and that's what makes some of our finest moments on those trips.
This has been an incredible trip. It's really been a little bit of everything, starting in Venice, basically, Noale, the home of Aprilia. Picked up the bikes. It was an 85-degree day. We took off and then it turned kind of ugly on us and it got cold. We got up to Cortina di Ampezzo in the Dolomites, and then we leave from there under kind of, okay conditions that then sort of degenerated and rode through the Dolomites on day 2. And then all the way across the mountains and then down into the valleys again, into Murano, kind of the vineyards, the wine country. And we took off and we go up to the Alps, up to San Moritz, into Switzerland. And then, this last day, where I thought we might really get nailed by the weather, it turned out to be probably the most fantastic day we've had. It's been an unbelievable trip. It's been a great bike. It's been the perfect bike for what we did.
I guess we'll just be waiting till the phone rings, till we pick a new destination, get ourselves some bikes, and hop on the airplane and go and do it again.